Hey everybody, it's Kathy Champion from Random Acts of Crafting, and welcome back. Today I thought that I would bring you a project. When I started working on this, I was thinking it was going to be a card, but as I completed the project, this is going to be more of a decor item, and this is something that I think would work wonderful to sit up on your Thanksgiving mantle, or if you have like a little sidebar in your dining room, or even in your den or living room, your living space. Just a little something to display as a Thanksgiving type, I guess, focal point. I thought it turned out really cute, and I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I am going to kind of explain as we go. I think that'll be much easier and much clearer if we do. I'm going to start out with a piece of black cardstock, and we are going to do what is basically known to most of us crafters as a sidestep card. And this is where this started out at. So I am going to cut this piece of 8.5 by 11. This is the Raven black from Brutus Monroe. And I am going to cut this in half on the 11-inch side. So I brought it to 5.5. I'm just going to cut that in half. And I can go ahead and put this away because we're going to need to do a little bit of measuring. And I'm going to actually do this on my scoreboard. If you remember, on the Nancy fold card that I did I used my scoreboard as my guideline for trimming, and we're going to kind of do the same thing with this. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put this in here, and I'm going to bring this down a little bit this way so we can get the whole thing in. We are going to let me get my tools out from under here so I can have what I need to work with. I'm just going to use a pencil, and I do want it to have a little bit of a lead to it. I may have to sharpen this pencil, and that's okay. I can do that. Because I want a fine line that's not going to show. And it's not going to show, but just for the video and everything, I just want it to be a fine line. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Tim Holtz ruler, and making sure that your cardstock is all the way up into the top left hand corner, we're going to bring this in at 2 1/8. So at 2 1/8, which is right here, I'm going to line my ruler up right there with that. There is the 2 1/8 right there. And I can zoom this in a little bit. Oops, I went a little cattywampus on you. Okay. And I don't know if that's getting in on that 2 1/8, but this is 2, and this is the 1/8. So I want to line my ruler up so that it is right there, and I want to make sure that I'm on the same line all the way down. And all I'm going to do is draw a straight line very faintly, but just enough so that I can see it. Got something right there on that cardstock. There we go. Probably a piece of glue. But I think you can see that pencil line. Let me zoom you back out now. That's a little bit too close. But you can see that pencil line. Now that pencil line is only there to give us a guideline to where we need to score. So I'm going to get this moved back over here. Let's come on back out so you can see the full screen. And what we're going to need to do at this point is we're going to do some scoring. Our first score line is going to be at 1 1/8. So that's going to be 1 notch past your 1 inch. And we're only going to go to that pencil line. So when you get to that pencil line, you want to make sure you stop, but you want a nice crease line there so it won't hurt to go over it a couple of times, but only to there. Then you're going to come in at 2 1/8, so 1 inch away from that last score line. You're going to do that again, just down to the pencil mark. And then you're going to go to 3 5/8. And 3 5/8 is going to be 3 1/2 and 1 tick mark past the half, which would be 5/8. So 3 5/8 again, only to that pencil line. Then we're going to go over at the 5-inch mark, and we're going to score down to the pencil mark again. And then we're going to do 6 3/4 or 3 3/4. So that's going to be right here, 6, there's a half, 5/8, and 3/4. So again, just down to the pencil mark. Okay, once you get that, you're going to turn your paper back around to where you have that 2 1/8 inch piece over on this side, and you're going to see that this cardstock, your 1 1/8 is right here, and your 6 3/4 one is right there. So get your X-Acto knife or your pen blade, whichever one that you use, and what you're going to do is come down to that last score mark and just cut a little tiny mark into there. That's going to give you your stop point. You're actually going to start up here at that first score line, not at the top of the page, but right here at that score line. And I usually lay my ruler down because that keeps me from going outside of where I need to be. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to lay my blade and I'm going to let it feel for that indentation of that score line, that 1/8 score line, and there we're on it. So we are going to go down to that last score line, and you will feel it when you get to it because it will kind of bump right there. And I'm going to go back up and just go down again to make sure that I cut all the way through, and I did, except that one place, and I felt my knife when it slid through it. Now we're going to do this twice because we need 2 pieces like this, but before we do that, we're going to turn it back around to where your cut mark, your score lines are down to the bottom, and this 2 1/8 piece is at the top, and we're going to score at 4 1/4. So 4 1/4, and just score down to the cut mark. So that's all that we need to do to that one. Now we're going to do the same thing to this one. We're going to put it in all the way up to that corner. We're going to come over to the 2 1/8. We're going to line our ruler up. We're going to draw that pencil mark all the way down. Then we're going to turn it where you have your larger side up there, and then we're going to do our scoring again. 1 1/8 down to the pencil mark, 2 1/8 down to the pencil mark, 3 5/8 down to the pencil mark, 5 inches down to the pencil mark, and 6 3/4 down to the pencil mark. And we're going to turn it back around this way. We are going to cut back up on this last score line down here. We're going to put our blade in right there and just slice it up just at least a little bit. And then we're going to come back over here, and I'm going to grab my ruler again because I do like to have that ruler there just to kind of keep me straight when I first start. And I'm going to press that into that little groove, and I felt it go in. And now we are just going to slice this down. Let me go back up because I think I got off just a little bit. Just like that. And we're going to make sure that it went through, and it looks like it didn't. So let's put it back up here. And we're going to go do that one more time. We don't need the ruler now because we've already got our cut. Yeah, I can feel some places where it didn't go through, but that did it. So now we have that done. We're going to turn this back around to this point, and this is where we're going to score that halfway mark. This will actually be our main fold of our card, and that's at 4 1/4, just down to that cut line. Okay, so we have both of our pieces done. So I do have some little black lint on my scoreboard, so I brushed that off into my trash. And let's see, now we are going to do some folding on this. We are going to do this first one into a mountain fold, and the second one, and that's going to be the short edge, not the wider edge, but the short edge, which is the 1 1/8. And then we're going to do a valley fold. And all that means is you're going to do the mountain fold means that you bend it up, and the valley fold means you bend it down. Mountain fold up and valley fold down, and then your mountain fold up. And this is it. That is all we need to do on this card. Now we're not going to press that down just yet. We're going to get our other piece done. But if anybody has seen this done before, you know this is a typical stair-step card. This is a stair-step card. If you wanted to make this, you would decorate these little places in between. You would build it up and put whatever you want on it, decorate your side panel, and you'd fold this like this, and it would go into an A2 size envelope, and that would be your stair-step card or side step. We're going to do the same thing with this piece, but we're going to do this in the opposite direction. So we want this one to live, let's see if I can get it going the right way. Let's see, it's going to live over here like this. So we want this to be a mountain and a valley and a mountain and a valley. We're doing the same thing. We're just matching it so that we make sure that this one can live on this side, like so. And you see what we have? But what we're going to do is we are going to stack that on top. The middle portions are going to stack on top of each other, and we are going to press it, and we just want to make sure that everything matches up perfectly, just like that. And what we're going to do at this point is we are going to glue these two pieces together. And this is going to give us, and once we do that, the rest of this is going to be decorating. And you will see how beautiful this piece looks once we get it together. Right now it doesn't look like much because it's not. But once we get these glued together, and you can glue or use two-sided tape or your AGT or ATG. I never say that right even when I'm looking at it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put some art glitter glue all over the back side of this one. And you don't want to get the glue on your stair steps over on the other side. But since we're only putting glue on one side, I want to make sure I've got enough for it to adhere. And what I'm going to do at this point is I'm just going to sit that right on the top of that. And I'm going to bring my bottom down, making sure my edges are perfectly even, just like that. And then I'm going to use my fingers and work that up to that peak. And this will assure you to get a good even cut. Now, once you get this together, if it's not even, don't fret about it because we can always trim it down. It's not a big deal. We got scissors and trimmers and all kinds of contraptions that have sharp edges, so we can always trim it down if it's not perfect. But when you get that together, and see my front is not perfect. It is off just a little bit, but all I got to do is take my scissors and I can cut that off. But I'm going to wait a few minutes before I cut that because I want to make sure that everything is gotten where I need it to be. Just like so. And then you can always put that piece in the back. Well, no, it does go one way because your smaller step needs to be in the front. That's a good thing to look at too. If you ever get confused, the smaller piece always needs to be to the front of this. And the reason for that is so that you gradually build your pieces up so that when it's sitting you can see the full essence of your piece of work. So I am going to take my scissors at this point, and I am going to go in just about here, and I am going to cut that little bit off right there. And that's all it was just a little shaving that we didn't quite get, if I can get in the camera, just that much. It was just a little tiny piece, but it was enough that I knew that it was there and it shouldn't be, and I didn't want it there. So once we do that, now like I said, everything else is going to be in the decorating. So I'm going to set that back there. And the only two things that I'm using for decorating is I am going to use these, the Nested Scallop Stitch Oval dies from Gina Marie. These dies are gorgeous, and the only two that I'm going to use are going to be, I think, in my prototype, which I took apart, I used these two, the two larger ones, but I think I'm going to come down one, and I'm going to use these two, and I'll tell you why. I usually do a prototype to kind of give me an idea of where I need to go and if there's any improvements that I need to make. And there were some improvements that needed to be made. I pulled this paper out of my pack that was from Recollection, and this is the Vintage Country, and it is the burlap paper. And I told you before when I used this, the front sheets are just burlap look, and then you get back here in the back, and this is really burlap. So what I decided to do was, on this piece, the burlap makes it a little bit too heavy, so I'm going to use this piece that looks like burlap. This looks like burlap so much. I'm going to move my piece out of the way. I am going to put my pen back in my glue so I don't get a clump. And I was already starting to get a little bit of a clump there on it. Okay, we got that taken care of. So let me grab my trimmer. And what I am going to do is I'm going to cut off this little stitched piece right here, because I want just that doily looking piece, and I'll use that for something else because I love that. I want this little piece of doily, and I want to get it just across the top like so, because I want that to hang down off of the bottom just like this. Isn't that cute? So we are going to lay that to the side because I'm going to use that as a piece of decoration. And then I am going to come back in here, and I want, let's go this way. I want to cut just a piece of this that's big enough for this die. And this is again what I do to keep from wasting paper. I will lay my die on it so I can get it just about the width I need it, and that looks about right there. And then I just cut that off like so. And I'm going to use this for my die cutting. So let me grab my plates and my cuttle bug. And again, I'm going to use that larger die for the burlap piece. And I am going to cut the black piece out of the smaller one. And you'll see where I'm going with this as we get there. But I'm going to load my plates in like I always do, and I'm going to put this die down like this. I might even use one little piece of tape on it because I was very close to the edge and I don't want to take a chance of it sliding off. And then we're just going to push this through like that. And we got that cut. And I'm going to very gently pull this off. And we're going to need two of these because we're going to do it on the top, on both sides. So I'm going to put that down. I'm going to lay that over there, and I'm going to run this one through. hopefully we got that one cut. We did. And now we're done with this die. So I'm going to take my tape off of it. And a little scrap can go in the scrap bin. And while we're here, I'm going to go ahead and grab a piece of black paper. And let's see if I have a scrap. No, not big enough to do that die, I don't think. Nope. This scrap will not fit on that die, so we're just going to go ahead and grab another piece of black. And I do need to take my paper trimmer, so I am going to sit this over here. Well, I thought I was, but it's suctioned to the table. There we go. I'm just going to move that over to the side for just a moment. And we are going to cut this piece down, just like I did the other piece, just enough to get enough to cut this little die. And there, I'm going to lay this right here. And it looks like we can come over to about there. Again, this is just my way of not wasting my paper. Paper's not cheap, as we all know. So that will give me enough to cut those two out of that little strip. So now let's move our little die cut machine back over. I'm going to close it and suction it down. And I'm going to grab my plates. Slide those back in. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to use that little piece of tape and just tape that down like so. And I'm going to run this through. These Gina Marie dies always cut so well. I've been so pleased with the things that I have received that are Gina Marie. So, just really good quality dies, I think. Okay, let's pop that out. We're going to lay that over there with our other piece, and now I'm going to put this back on. It seems like for some reason that black paper seems to pull up from the tape worse than any of the others. So I'm going to try to just do this one right here like that. I did get a little tearing on my other piece, but I think it's going to be okay because our embellishments will cover that. Funny, but I like to hear that little pop to know that it did get through all the way. So let's see if we can pop that out like so. And I think we're done with our cuddle bug now, so we can move it as soon as I pop this piece out. Yep. And that one came out beautifully. And now we're done with our dies and our cuddle bug. And now I think we are ready to start. We do need one more thing. I need a piece of kraft cardstock. And I think I got a piece right here. Yep, that'll work perfect. Now we are going to cut these at 2.5 by 2.5, and so we're just going to need 2 of these. And let's see, I think we can get the 2 off of this one. 2.5 and 2.5. So, and I will have all these measurements in my blog, so if you are not catching these, we are going to need another piece of black, and I am going to cut this. I believe I can get this off of here. Yeah, so we're going to need it about let's see what this is. This is 2, so let's go 2 by 2. So all we want is just a piece that's going to live in the middle of that. And we are going to use our little scallop edger, and I am going to edge them just to give it a little bit of interest on the corners. And I am using my crocodile, and this one is the scallop and the stub. And I am going to use the scalloped edge. And I'll show you what that's going to do. In case you have not seen this or you don't have one, it makes a cute little scalloped edge like that. Let's see if I can hold it against the black. Yeah. So I'm just going to go around these edges and I'm going to scallop them out just like so. And I'm going to do that for both pieces. And I'm also going to do it on the black, and I'm going to try doing these both at one time. Yep, I should have done that with the craft colored, and we could have been done in half the time. But anytime that you're using your crocodiles, they will definitely cut more than one layer. They are very strong. Okay, so now let's bring our little base back over, and I am going to start in the back. And what I want to do is I want to assemble one of these little black pieces over top of the burlap, just like that. And I want to get them centered up really nice, because this is going to make a focal point on the back of this card, or the base. Like I said, I'm calling it a card, but it's actually going to be more of a focal point for us than it is a card. And it's just going to make a beautiful little Thanksgiving piece. I thought it turned out just absolutely beautiful. I was really pleased with the way this came together, so let's hope that this one is going to look just as good as the first one that I did. And I did take the first one apart, and I'll tell you why. I took it apart because I wanted to use these little pieces on it. I only had one piece of these little embellishments. I am going to put some glue on the back. You can see how I tore them off after I got it together. I thought, oh, I wish I had videoed this because it came together so good. But I just came in here and I was playing around to see if it would work. And guess what? It did. So I am going to put this about midway. And these little embellishments I got, or I didn't get them, actually my grandson sent me these, and I think if you remember me showing you the pieces, it was one of these little auto collections pieces that you get from the Dollar Tree, and they are just absolutely beautiful. And I think I'm going to use this piece right across the top here, like that. And then that's going to live right there. And I am going to put this one together the same way. Putting that down right there. And then we're going to put something over on this side. And let's see. I don't want to use that one. The turkey's going to go in the middle. So let's see. One. And I'm actually going to pull some of these out. And I think I am going to use these pumpkins. Maybe put those up to the top. And one of these little leaves like this at the bottom that says Hello Fall. Maybe we'll bring it up right up underneath there. Yeah, like that. Now that one is going to live right there. Now that one's a little bit top heavy, so maybe I should have put the pumpkins. Well, you know what? It's not going to matter once we glue it. So I'm going to take a little bit of my ATG. I can be looking directly at the letters and still say it wrong. But I'm going to put a little bit of that right there on the bottom. And then I'm going to stick that down just like so. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one. And if you need to mark these, you can very easily use a pencil, lay them up against the back, and mark where they need to sit. That is totally up to you. I'm just going to press that down like so. And look what we have already. Beautiful. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to start working on these little focal points right here. And these are just the little squares, the 2 by 2, 2.5 by 2.5, and the 2 by 2 that I cut. And I am going to use a little bit of glue. And I'm just going to adhere these right in the center. Just like that. And I am going to put these 2 little pictures in the middle. This one says thankful, and this is going to live right here. And then the second one just says fall, hello fall. So glue that down just like that. And now we're going to put this one, and I am going to put a little glue on it because as you can see, this one was used before. And I just want to make sure that they stay stuck. And that's going to live right there. And now this one, I want it to go up onto the top here, like so. And I want the turkey to live right about, I'll tell you what, let's put down our little strip that we cut, because this is going to live across the bottom, like so. And I think we need to measure that, and I believe it's going to be about 8.5 inches, if I remember. Almost 9. So I'm going to line that up right here, and I am going to cut it right about there. And I am going to just go ahead, since I have my X-Acto knife laying here, I'm going to bring that over to about here, and I'm going to just slice it. That way I didn't have to mess with bringing the trimmer out and moving everything that I have in front of me. So I just want that to live right there. And as you can see, it doesn't look like much when you first make this the stair step part of this card or embellishment, but once you are putting your decoration pieces on it, it really does make a dramatic effect. I just think this is so adorable. Now I'm going to mash that down so that I can make sure that I'm getting this up on the edges where I want it, just like so. And that looks really good. And now we're going to go ahead and put glue on the back of these, and I only want to put glue just right in here. And it's so easy because you have that bottom to just push that against. So there's really no guesswork in putting these pieces where they need to live, which makes it extremely easy. Again, I'm just putting my glue down on that bottom corner. And I'm sitting this down here like so. And again, I'm going to press and press. And now the last thing that I want to do is I want to put Mr. Gobble Gobble. And I'm just going to bring him down to that point. And again, my dog is barking, as usual. Toby. It's always Toby. It seems like he's always the one that has to really kind of show himself. Now I am going to bring these flowers because I love that little sunflower. And I'm going to put that right here on the very front. And there we go. There is our beautiful little piece. I'm going to turn it around and hopefully I can angle it like so you can see how gorgeous it is. This is just a lovely piece. And I can see this sitting on a mantle. The other thing that you may want to do, and I think I might do that, is I'm going to make a little easel to go up underneath the back of it. Just enough of something that will help hold it so that it will stay together at the point that you want it. And in order to do that, I think all I'm going to do is score this little piece. And you could do it with a black piece to match if you were giving it to someone. But I'm just going to go in right here with my, oops, can't find the right one. There we go. I'm going to come in about at 3/8 of an inch, and I'm just going to score that down like so, and fold it up. And I think if we give this under here just a little bit of a lip, let's see, like so, this is going to help this to sit up a little bit better. So let's see. I'm going to make sure that's going to work before I go through the trouble of putting it there. I'm going to use a little bit of snail that's not permanent, because I just want to see if that's going to work before I actually commit to it. And I am thinking if we put this right about here. I want to get it even with that edge. And again, like I said, if you did this with a black piece, I just have this little piece of, and then when you fold it like that, let's see if that's going to give it a little bit of a lip to sit on. And that does make it sit much better. There you go. That sits up beautifully. I will go back and put my piece on, and I will cut the same dimensions. And this is basically 1.5 inch piece, no, 1 3/4, and I scored it at 3/8. And you're going to put your sticky on this side and stick that down. and just let that fold back underneath here like so. And then just stick that down right in the middle just to give it a little bit of stability, and then push it in like that, and then it's not going to open up quite as far, and that way this piece can sit on your sidebar, your mantle, or whatever, and be a beautiful focal point for the Thanksgiving holiday. So y'all let me know what you think of this this little piece, and if it's something that you would make and how you would decorate it. I love to hear from you. And again, I just want to thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. When I started making this morning, I wasn't sure where it was going, but it turned out prettier than I thought it would, and I was very pleased with it. So I thought I need to come back and make this and show y'all how I did it. And I hope to hear from you. If you have not subscribed to my channel, you like what you see, please hit the subscription button right below this video, and ring the little bell, and that way you will be notified when I bring up a video. Also, if you have not joined our Random Acts of Crafting Facebook page, please go over and subscribe there. It's a place where you can share your creations with us, and if you make one of my projects, you can also show me there what you did. It'll give me a chance to interact with you on a bigger scale, and I love seeing what you do and hearing from you. So if you would do that, I would certainly appreciate it. And as I always tell you when I leave, be kind to someone today. Show your love and your kindness to other people. We never know what they're going through and how much a kind word can mean to someone. So until we meet again, I want to just say happy crafting. Always. God bless you, and be a blessing to someone. Until we meet again, happy crafting.